Okay, so the last one was fun. For some reason, after I drew that last picture, I just wasn't in the mood to draw again. Even though it was fun drawing and recording it for YouTube, and even though nobody watched it, it's there. Something I can say I did. But yeah, it was still fun. I wanted to do another one, but for some reason, I just lagged behind for a couple days. Now here we are, Friday night. And I'm just going to draw and record myself, and that's kind of just what I am doing here on April 24th, 2020, during a global pandemic. Never thought I'd really say that, it's weird. Okay, brief disclaimer at the beginning. I know any artist worth their gruff, any artist that I could name that I know, any comic artist, any online artist, any real artist, any artist anywhere is going to say, don't draw from models, don't trace, don't do this, don't. You should draw this all by hand, and that's the only way to learn and get better. Well, I've been drawing for a very long time, and I can draw from scratch using like a skeleton or whatever. I can draw many different ways. This is just something I do that helps me make my poses and the panel is a little more dynamic in the martial arts scenes going on in this comic. So these guys are known as Design Kung and Design Chan. They are posable design dolls. Now, in some instances, they do say that you're supposed to just look at them, and then by looking at them, you should figure out how to draw what you're drawing. Then there's some preview videos of these things that actually show you somebody tracing it and turning it into something badass. So some of their promotions say to trace, some say don't. But to play devil's advocate in this program that I'm using, I have all of these 3D models over here that I could use to pose any number of things. And I've never gotten into these 3D models. I know that I can, I never have. They're all right here. So I know some artists who use 3D models to build their images and to make them look better. I have used 3D models. My background is made using a 3D model. But in this instance, this comic is 50-50. Sometimes I draw the thing flat out me. Now, I'm sure if you look hard enough, you can definitely tell the difference. Because there is a difference and it bothers me, but I'm too lazy to go in and change it. I probably will change it at some point. But, yeah. Some of it is freehand, some of it isn't. And, a lot of the martial arts stuff, I've been using these dolls just to make this a little more of a assembly line. Just to be able to get this thing out, because it's a big comic, and it's a lot to do. And, yeah, it just helps me make some more dynamic things. I know, I'm not going to get better. Well, guess what? I've been drawing for many, many years, and I'm pretty good at some stuff, pretty bad at other stuff. I never considered myself a good artist. I said this in my last video. I don't think I'm a good artist. So, what's one more thing that I'm doing wrong? Who cares? The point is that I've got a story, and that I'm getting the story out of my head, and that I'm creating all these visuals myself one way or another. Me actually doing is way more than a lot of people can say that they've done. So, yes. And as I do this, you will see there is quite a bit in here that I do myself that I have to draw or intuit or whatever. I talked about my comic a fair bit in the last one. Anyone who wants to hear that, it's up and you can. The music, same as all my videos so far, is by my buddy Joey. His name is Joey Morto. You can find him out there. He's a very simple search away. His band is the Bad City Surfers or Los Bones. Look him up. He's cool. He does music stuff. You can commission him. He likes money. You pay him, he will do things for you. He's a cool dude. And I'm not even listening to the music. I'm sitting here talking. But when everybody else is here, listening to this, there will be music. So, music by Joey. Yay. Yay for Joey. Okay, here's a perfect example. I said that I am not the best artist in the world, but I'm good enough for what I am trying to do. Now, the way that clothes work and the way that folds work, can sometimes be confusing. That's something that I don't always get, but I at least try to, So, even though this may technically be wrong, and that I'm drawing this wrong, and that I'm doing this all wrong one way or another, the point is that I am at least attempting to do it. Right? Again, I would argue, me with an actual product that I can show is 1,000 times more impressive than somebody who has an idea of something that they've never even attempted before. So, am I using this to cheat a bit? Yes, I am. At the same time, I am doing. Doing is important. And yeah, I mean, really, this is my story. And I've got this urge to get it out of my head. And this is the best way I know how to do it, is just by doing it, by drawing it. That is what I am doing. And this program that I'm using, which is a very good Photoshop alternative, I barely know how to turn on the lights in this program, Everything I know in this program kind of comes from my knowledge of what I used to know about Photoshop before they completely changed Photoshop. So it's like, I'm not even that good at using this program. I use this program just the best I've been able to figure it out. And so it's like, yeah, anybody be impressed by anything that I do here, because if anything that I'm doing here seems impressive, just know that it isn't. And that I know people that can use this program 1,000 times better than me. And if I can learn to use this program as good as I can, at least, and so can you, well, that is one thing. I'm sitting here talking, and I'm distracting the fuck out of myself. So, last time I talked a little bit about what's up with Felipe and Sarah. I looked a little more into it. So if you're in a relationship involving 4 people, you're quadruple. You're a quadruple, or for short, these types of relationships refer to themselves as quads. So, the story in this is that Sarah somehow got herself involved with Felipe, and then Sybil and Courtney, and they all wound up in a quad together. Yes, that's what happened. They wound up in a quad together. And really, Sarah liked everybody, but she was kind of more into Courtney, right? And Sybil was into Felipe. And Felipe was kind of with Sarah, but being in this whole quad thing, maybe so that Sarah could be with Sybil. And by that whole arrangement, everything was cool. And Sarah, at this point, had not actually lost her virginity. She was still a virgin. She was still kind of playing hard to get with Felipe, but, she realized that he wanted stuff too. And so she was down to let him fool around with Sybil. The thing was that she wanted to be around for everything going on. And if he was going to do something so far as to, have sex with them, she at least wanted to be told that something was going to go down, And she had been told, hey, we're all fucking horny and we want to have sex with each other, she would have been like, cool, I'll let you know when I'm down to join in. And then nobody would have gotten mad at anybody, and everything would have been cool. The problem is that nobody thought to even say anything to her. They just started doing stuff, and then the idea was to figure out how to get her into it. So Sarah feels a little lied to and taken advantage of. And, you know, there are only so many people out there who could have any kind of sympathy towards her, because this is kind of a really stupid thing that she got herself into, that any sane person would know would never end well. Well, no, that's wrong. Scratch what I just said. Most sane people would know wouldn't end well. But for some people out there, they actually can make these relationships work, and they're very healthy. And I perfectly believe that if you get the balance right, you find the right person, and they're not, and there's open communication, and nobody's doing anything behind anyone's back, that a relationship such as this actually could work. And so I'm not going to go and say that any crazy person knows that this wouldn't work. I'm going to say that this can work, and it should have worked for them. Problem is that people did stuff and there was no communication, and it kind of fucked everything up. So the idea was that Felipe was going to enter this tournament with Sybil and Courtney, and Felipe wanted to win it really badly. Now, he couldn't guarantee that he was going to beat Sybil and Courtney. Okay, so as we can see here, he entered. Sarah went up against this person named Aaron. That could be a girl or a guy. And there were 3 schools here. There's the J School, the Cyanami School, the Easterling School, the Salazarian School, and the French School. Yeah, there are 5. Sorry. So, Aaron went against Sarah. Sarah won. Sybil went against somebody named Billy, and she won. And someone named Bill went up against Courtney, and Courtney won. And then David went up against Bailey, David won. And then Toby versus Felipe, Felipe won. Amber versus Kevin, Kevin won. Tasha versus Kelly, Kelly won. Amber versus Walter, Walter won. And then Sarah versus Sybil, Sarah won. Courtney versus David, Courtney won. Felipe versus Kevin, Felipe won. Kelly versus Walter, Walter won. And then you've got Felipe versus Walter, Felipe won. You've got Sarah versus Courtney, Sarah won. So Sarah beat Courtney and Sybil in this whole thing that went down. And so there wasn't even any guarantee that they were going to wind up in the same thing together here. But that is what happened. So Sarah was angry because nobody communicated. And she walked in on a situation that she didn't want to walk in on. And she found out that they were screwing around behind her back and not talking to her. So Felipe entered, and he had originally planned to just take on Sybil and Courtney and hope he could beat them. They didn't want to lose, but they were willing to go up against him amicably as competitors. And then Sarah entered and added another equation to it. Emotions got involved, and she ended up coming up against Felipe, and then this is the match they find herself in. This whole thing pretty much upends Felipe's plans for winning this thing and hopefully getting somewhere out of it. And the whole reason this happened was because Sarah got angry that shit went down, that they just didn't be open with her. And so there we are. And there's probably some bias and some things in here that any sane teacher probably wouldn't let their students participate with this kind of stuff going on. But at the same time, I sort of feel like at the school they go to, this is the exact kind of thing that they would be allowed to have happen, and they would still be allowed to participate. Because they teach, like right now while they're fighting, the crowd is like cheering and yelling and like being all distracted and shit. And the whole point of that is part of their training is learning how to control themselves in tense situations and in stressful situations. And so part of that is shit that can happen. Like, you're dating someone in the workplace or the martial arts place, and then your whole relationship goes foobar. That's no excuse to start acting like a shit. So you got to be able to deal with this. So when their relationship fucked up and she entered the tournament, there was a personal moment, like personal element in there. Their teacher probably wasn't all about that, but at the same time, it was probably the perfect just distraction to add into the mix to be a challenge to them in this tournament. So here we are, and it comes down to Sarah fighting Felipe. And as you can see here, yeah, I've got it posed. You know, I'm using these models to get the poses, right? But they're wearing these gis that they're generic gis, but I designed them. They're wearing these gloves that I designed, and they're wearing these boots that I designed, and all this gear that I designed. Now, if you listened to me the last time that I did this, I said that this is an alternate universe in an alternate time. So the gel that all of this gear is made out of, in theory, is supposed to be way more protective than it actually would be. So that's another thing you got to take into consideration with this, is that, and it's funny that in the last page he actually complained that the stuff isn't as shock absorbent as one might like. So I'm sitting here saying that this stuff is shock absorbent and it's not that painful, when the last page Felipe just said it is. So I'm sitting here basically saying exactly the opposite of what Felipe said in the last page. But you know what? In theory, this stuff is padded and it doesn't hurt that much. Yes. You'll see here that even though that, yes, I am cheating, blah, 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 I am still drawing a decent amount of this myself without using these models. Like here, I have to draw this ridiculous helmet on him. At the same time, I don't like the proportions of the heads on these things, so I usually make my heads smaller than these actual models. Like this head's probably the wrong size for what I'm doing here, and I'm going to end up changing it here in a minute. Okay, so as you can see here, so even though I'm using these dolls or whatever to cheat on the pose, I still have to draw these faces myself, you know? I still have to draw these helmets myself. I would argue that I still am doing a bit of art myself, and so it makes legitimate what I'm doing here. Like here, that looks pretty good actually. This head could be just a tiny bit smaller though. So I'll shrink it down, I'll put it behind this layer, and then I'll go down the transparency, and I'll just go in and I'll draw it again. That way the head doesn't look like a different shade or size or whatever for the rest of the lines. It kind of matches. That is the whole idea of trying it again. I don't really know what my story with Felipe is about. He's just a guy who's stressed out and finds himself in a situation with a girl that he likes a lot, and everything goes really wrong because he's kind of an idiot and he makes a lot of incorrect decisions that lead him down a path where he gets himself canceled. He doesn't even get canceled by Sarah, is the thing. It's like, she's mad at him, sure, but it's her twin sister, Lise, who's the one who's really pissed off and who really does all the cancellation. So at some point, you know, they have to come eye to eye because they have to figure this thing out. And whenever that happens, she even tells him, it's like, you know, I can't do anything. I didn't do most of this. It was Lise, so you have to talk to her. So that's like a whole nother thing that he has to deal with. Felipe's just having a hard time, okay? And he's doing the best that he can. See, okay, there we go. There's one Felipe. One Felipe. Okay, so that's how I will go about drawing my character. And again, it depends on what I'm doing, whether or not I use these dolls to pose my character to do whatever. Usually I do draw it freehand, but in this martial arts case, I just think this looks better, and it gets me a more consistent character each time when I'm trying to do all these poses in fast succession. So, you know what? Sorry, I'm doing my best. Once again, I am actually drawing my story. Anybody else who's better than me and is drawing their story and doesn't do this kind of stuff, well, they're just better than me. Anybody who's not actually drawing their story, I don't really care what they have to say. But, you know, I'm doing as best as I can, and that's again. Obviously, I'm abashed because, you know, I've been told not to do this before. You know, and I feel like a lot of people won't even respect me as an artist because I do shit like this. But then on the other hand, it's just like, whatever. It's like, I think that was one of the reasons it took me so long to make this video, was because I knew that I was going to have to show off exactly what I'm doing here if I was going to do a video of me actually creating the lines here. So I knew that this was something that I was going to have to show off, and I was hesitant because I knew I was going to get a bad booze and a bunch of bad replies just saying, oh, you should never do that. And it's like, I guess I know I shouldn't do it. Guess what? I kind of like the way it looks, so... And also, these design dolls, Design Chan and Design Kung, they were fucking expensive. It's like, I'm going to use them for whatever I want to use them for. Sorry, not sorry. And then, I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there who sees what I'm doing and like, wow, that's kind of cool. You know, maybe there'll be somebody who sees what I'm doing here and will actually think it's cool. You know? If that ever happened, that one person saw what I was doing here, was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That would just be lovely. So I'm watching the, that was weird. Almost the second as I'm about to mention something about Disney, the program stops working right. It's just like, But I'm watching the new Clone Wars stuff, and it's not half bad, I gotta say. You know, I can't say I'm surprised it took them so long to get to Ahsoka, and that they did like a whole filler arc with Ahsoka before they got to like the Siege of Mandalore. But somehow, I just expected the whole season to be the Siege of Mandalore, and to be like a 13 episode, you know, build up to the events of episode 3. And kind of the slow burn in getting there has been not really what I was seeing coming, but I'm enjoying it. Maul versus Ahsoka was awesome. She actually caught his ass. That was cool. Bo-Katan's kicking ass. That's cool. Bo-Katan is my girl. She is voiced by Katie Sackhoff, the one and amazing Katie Sackhoff. I'm all about Katie Sackhoff. She stole my heart in Battlestar Galactica, which is all the sadder because she's got like the most tragic part in that entire show. Jesus Christ. But I'm a huge fan of Katie Sackhoff. And Bo-Katan is voiced by her, and so Bo-Katan is my girl. And Gideon right now has the fucking Darksaber in Mandalorian. And they better not have killed Bo-Katan off screen, because that shit won't be okay. You're not allowed to do that. I'm just saying, that is not something that they are allowed to do, is kill Bo-Katan off screen. If that is something that took place, that is something that we fucking need to see. Fold, yay, fold. Yeah, I know, I'm bad at folds. I cheat. I do them just very randomly. Sue me, I'm not good at it. Okay, so right here, the way I'm going to draw this. See? Look how badly I just drew that in. Okay, on the model, I'm going to put right five. Okay, here's something I've started doing. These fucking gloves. They've got like these two fingers that go over, and at the ends of your fingers come out. You can see it on Felipe here. And I can use these gloves to cheat a lot of poses with hands. It's kind of fantastic. Okay, now the one thing I need here is I want her arms to be kind of crossing. So, also, in case you can't tell, I'm terrible at drawing hands and fingers and thumbs and all kinds of other parts of the body. I'm just terrible at it. And yet, I still try my best. They're like these little finger things on the gloves, and that helps me cheat on actually drawing the fingers completely. But yes, these like gloves that she's wearing lets me just cheat on the shape of her hand. It makes it so much easier to just draw fists and stuff when they're wearing these gloves and like the shape of it. Yes. So, see? I wanted her arms crossed, and I just did it in a way that is not something that just somebody who doesn't know how to draw can really do it. So that shows at least that, to a degree, I are an actual artist, and I actually do know how to do things in programs. So the idea right here is she's kind of got her hands crossed and her arms crossed, and she's taking the brunt of his attacks. He comes up against her. Yeah, folds. I'm not good at folds. Sorry, I just got quiet for a second. Guess that's what the music's for? I don't know. I forgot that I'm supposed to talk while I'm doing this. Realize it might sound like I'm muttering a lot when this actually comes out. Sorry if it does. It's not my meaning. Now you can see here that right here, the girl's head on this model is seriously way too big. I always size down the head. You know, what I'm drawing right here is full head plus the gear, and it's kind of taking up the space that just the shape of the head had taken up before. So yes. Even when I do this and I've got a friend over, I'm sitting here trying to art, and my friend like will say something to me. It's like it takes me a second to like acknowledge and actually talk, because I'm like concentrating so hard on the drawing. There we go. Okay. And you know, she's also kind of from an angle, so it's whatever. It's a thing. If I don't like it later, I'll go back and fix it. Leave me alone. So much. Her hair is enough. I do see that. That's another thing, is that when you get to stare at your artwork for a while after you've done it, you see all kinds of things that are different. So one day when I eventually do publish, you know, this stupid comic that I'm drawing, you will definitely see things that look different than how you last saw them while I was drawing here on YouTube. That is another thing. I'm not used to talking while I'm trying to figure something out, because, again, I'm not the perfect artist, you know, and sometimes when I draw, when I'm trying to draw, it doesn't actually come out correctly. I don't know any of my contemporaries who really have this issue where they go to stream and draw for someone and they literally suck so hard at drawing that they can't draw what they're trying to draw. I'm not sure if I know anybody who's ever had that issue while actually streaming. This is all good. I'm doing this as good as I can. Like I said, the point is just to have fun. So that is what I'm doing. Okay. I hate it. don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there who thinks they suck at artwork and they see me struggle here. We'll give them some inspiration to at least try to struggle a little. Because the only difference between an amateur and a professional is that the professional has tried and failed more times than the amateur has even made the attempt. So, you know, if this inspires just one person in doing this, I guess it's worth it. Okay. Now, is it perfect? No. Now it will do. See, sometimes I also struggle to draw this helmet because it's stupid, and I don't think they would ever wear something like this in reality. But I'm kind of treating this helmet as if it were a helmet for like a sci-fi or something, because in a lot of these sci-fi helmets and TV shows, it's hard to actually make out the actor in a lot of these helmets, so they have to be lit. They have to have some kind of internal lighting on them so that you can see who's in them. And that's kind of how I'm pretending that these helmets are in this. That they need to be made in a way where you can tell who's who. And so that is what I am doing. And that's why they are so basic and simplistic. Just a little chin guard, and they guard part of the head. And they're not something like more all-encompassing to protect her like you might have in a real martial arts thing. So that you can see the character better, basically. That's the whole motivation between this stupid headgear. And the idea that they have something that pads it even more. So, you know, Felipe's a baby. He's complaining about something that's nothing. Now, Sarah, she broke her ankle when she was 11, like broke it really bad. And they had to use sonic bone growth technology as well as some 3D printed replacement parts for her to fix her ankle. She had to go through a whole lot to get to this point, and every step that she takes hurts her. In some of these pages, if you look, you will see that I drew in the scar on her ankle because she broke it so bad. So she's fighting through pain for every single move that she's doing. So, you know, Felipe complaining that her kicks hurt too much because these headgear and stuff isn't padded enough. Cry me a river, Felipe. Her entire life, she fights through pain. Which, that is actually a new addition to the character. I chose Sarah because she's the closest thing I have to a main character, but I broke my ankle really badly. I had to go through a lot to get it rebuilt. And I kind of wanted to show off that maybe somebody who had a traumatic injury like I did, that it could be fixed one day. And one of the things that they had me do was an actual device that's strapped to my leg. There was a sonic bone growth stimulator. So I had the idea that what if the sonic bone growth stimulation technology was more advanced in this future, and it could be used on a wider scale on her. And then, you know, stem cell research, 3D printing, DNA matching, stuff like that. What if they could actually grow new bones to put in her legs and, you know, not do as much damage? What if there was some nanotech that could repair the damaged tissue a little better and make it so that she had a better chance of recovery afterwards? So that's another thing with Sarah, is that every step she takes is pain and discipline. And Felipe doesn't appreciate that. Nobody does. That's why she's not really too worried about the fact that their gear is maybe not that well padded and it actually hurts. And why she told Felipe is a personal problem of his, that her kicks actually do in fact hurt. And that's why he kicked her. Okay. There's one Felipe and one Sarah. Wait a minute. I missed something. I saw it. Okay. One Sarah and Felipe. And then This is their dojo right here. I built a 3D model of the dojo basically, and that is how I have been getting all of my poses, or how I've been getting all my backgrounds, the way this is being staged. So give me a second here to go through my comic. Okay. So what I'm going to do here come in right here. Okay, I've got the background right here. Now what I'm going to do is... Okay, they're blue for now. So... there goes that. So that background goes there, and then I'm going to zoom in a little here. If anyone thinks that this madness that you're seeing right now is weird, I apologize. This madness here is my method. So now I got him in front of a CGI background, which I will in a second here turn into my background. And that is kind of how I'm assembling this book and making it look the way that it does look.